Welcome everybody, François Le Tarte for my role-playing channel. So I'd like to ramble a little bit about editions, different editions of a role-playing game. Sometimes it's a need, but is it really? Of course, I'm doing this video in a time where a new edition of Dungeons and Dragons is about to come out. It's already came out. Some people already have the copy of, let's say, the 6th edition, because it doesn't name itself like being the 6th edition of anything, but at the same time, well, let's say that's the 6th edition. We'll see when it will be already out and how people will really call it, how Hasbro will really call it. Okay. How much do you need a new edition? I've been thinking about that because I saw a post on a French Facebook group about Dungeons and Dragons, and some people were calling out, were asking a question saying, well, will you make a conversion of your current character to the next edition? And a very legit question. Okay, you can basically answer whatever you want. Okay, there were no wrong answers. Some people said yes, I will do. Some people will say no, I will stick with my current edition, 5th edition or any other, doesn't matter. Some people say, well, we'll start from scratch. We'll take the new edition and begin a new campaign. All of those answers are correct. And I came out with I've been a real troll asking that question. Well, what is the real question here? I said the real question is, are you happy with the role-playing game you are currently using? And if so, well, you don't even need to answer the first question about the conversion. Stick to the game you love. And that is what I want to discuss today, alone in my car. Yeah, a new edition. Do you really need a new edition? Sometimes, yes, you can have a new edition coming up with clarifications of the rules, improvement in some way, but it all depends, okay? Because those improvements, well, these are house rules of another table, okay? People who have play tested that, let's be honest, these are all house rules that have been improved by a publishing company, okay, and put that in a book. So this is the new house rules that we say that they are the official rules. These are house rules created for another table, responding to another need. Maybe the need of the community who are playing this game, but nevertheless, this is someone else's ID, and it's up to you to decide if you agree with those IDs or not. Which is fine, okay? Which is fine. It doesn't prevent to have a new edition. But I just think that sometimes new editions are there to create a need that wasn't there before that new edition is being announced. If we take the example of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, okay, there's so many players of that game who seems happy, okay, and it's good for them because I'm not one of them. But they really seem happy with the game, how it's being made, how it's being developed. Of course, some people are complaining about stuff about the game, but it's the same about any games. There's no perfect game. But if they are able to pull out great moments of playing with that game, it's because the game is good for them. And there are many players who are already enjoying the game, and without the announcement of a new edition, well, they would stick to the game, okay? It's just a marketing thing that Hasbro has made to sell new books, to try to renew the interest in the game, and having people buy it, and people who are really stick to the brand. And since Dungeons and Dragons is a big one, they are very excited. A new book with that name on it will come out, and well, they really need it because I guess most of the players don't need a new edition. Okay, they're taking the current game they're playing and they're building their own house rules on the top. They're building their own way to run the game on the top of that, and they're happy with it. Okay, they're happy. And okay, how do I see it personally? Well, I won't take Dungeons and Dragons as an example, but it happened in different editions. Okay, I remember. Okay, let's go with an old story. I remember Star Wars D6 was that big thing for me, the best game ever. And I'm talking about when first edition was out. We were playing with the friends. We were having the time of our lives playing adventures into the Star Wars universe, and we were doing it with the first edition. And then I was so hyped about Star Wars that when I learned that there was to be a second edition, I was really excited. Yeah, second edition. It's just because I was hyped with the game and I was ready to come to see what was coming up with the second edition of that game. But frankly, I didn't need it. If I look back at it, I was young, I was excited, but I didn't need it. When it came out, that first famous second edition, well, some of the ideas in it I really liked. Some of the players I was playing with were, well, not very pleased with how the rules were set up in the game. They were said, well, I think that we don't like this or that. What I was saying to them, I said to them, well, let's try it, okay? Let's give it a try anyway. See, I was a game master, so I probably had the most weight in the decision, so we played it. And okay, and then, well, I've played after that. I really followed that line, okay? Because if you remember the D6 Star Wars, for those who were there was that other second edition that was the revised version, okay, with the color book with the Millennium Falcon on it, and I was really hyped, okay? But I remember I had a campaign back then with another group, and I was piling up a lot of house rules on it, okay? I was kind of modifying it and all of that. It's been a long time since those games I did, and looking back at that in the last couple of years, okay, well, maybe the last 10 years, let's say, I was looking back at the D6 system and realized that, well, first edition was enough. Okay, I didn't need those other editions. The way I think I handle this is that I take the first edition and take one or two ideas that I like from the second edition, like optional rules, house rules that I just put into the game, and the game is pretty fine for me. And to tell the truth, just go a little farther with Star Wars D6. I do take the Grumpf version of the D6 system as the basic because I really like his approach. But nevertheless, I really didn't need that new edition of the game. Okay, I was happy with the first one. So that is the story. I got with second edition, and to look back at it, the second edition, finally, there's many things I think for the D6 system, they have lost it a little bit. That's where the D6 system kind of lost its interest for me when I look back at it. Okay, when the Star Wars second edition came out, I know that probably many of you were really into the second edition and really liked it, but looking back at it, I think the first edition is fine. It goes with the spirit of the game. The spirit, the way I see it, they said that game pleased me. So that's my point. I was happy with the game in the end. I was happy with the game. I didn't need a new edition of that game. Okay, right now, I talked to you a little bit about the French kind of D&D game I'm running for the teenagers called Chroniques Oubliées, and they just came out with a second edition. Okay, yeah, part of me was hyped. Yeah, second edition, but at the same time, I already made the exercise. I'm happy with the first edition the way it is. I'm happy with how I handle it. I'm happy with the house rules I came out with it. So I take a look at the second edition just to see what is it all about. To tell the truth, if someone wants to get into a new role-playing game, wants something like D&D but doesn't want D&D, and he can understand French, I say to you, the second edition of Chroniques Oubliées is perfectly fine. Very good game. But I won't go there because I already have my game that please me. And I will take some good ideas, in fact, of the second edition and try to implement it. Some stuff that I said, well, there are some, let's say, ways to handle the game that I was thinking about, and they came up with some solutions into the second edition. So, I remember that friend long ago. It's Dungeons and Dragons again. He was with Advanced First Edition. We were happy with the first edition. Second edition came with many improvements in the eyes of many people. Well, I remember that friend who didn't want to go directly to second edition, but he was matching the both editions, and he was making his own version of the game. He was happy with it. Okay. Finally, you take the basic of a game, and if you're happy with it, don't really need the supposedly improvement of the game, because it's your table, it's your way to run the game. You do it as you feel it, and just go with it. Just take the basic game that you're fine with it and use your mind, because a new edition of the game is kind of house rules from someone else, and maybe these are not house rules that might fit your style, your group, the way you handle stuff. In 1 year from now, new players, new people who wants to come into the hobby, will buy this 6th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, because they didn't know what was before. No need to try to convince them to go to earlier editions. They will come into the store. That's the book they will see, and they will buy it, and they will try themselves on it. And if they are pleased with what's in the book, well, I think it will be time to say to them, well, this is the basic of the game you like. Now use your brain and just try to make it better the way you want it, and don't create yourself needs, because basically if you take some time to look at it, all the answers are somewhere in there. Okay, if the game doesn't please you, yeah, you can create yourself a need. You may go towards a new game, but try to find a game, try to find the shoes that fits you, and from there build up and use your brain. Because I think a big part of the role-playing game hobby is about creation, and we're not talking about creating adventures, but creating a rule set that will fit whatever stories you need to be, whatever stories are needed to be told. What a weird sentence. I think you understand. You create the rule set about what kind of tales you want to tell around the table, the way it feels right for your group. Yeah. So, are you hyped with the 6th edition? And if you are hyped, why? Is it because you really need a new game? Or is it just because something very new is coming about, your favorite role-playing game? But will it still be your favorite role-playing game after that? Just think about it. I'm just thinking about 2nd edition Star Wars, and 2nd edition Star Wars finally is not my favorite role-playing game. But 1st edition, I was already there before it came out, before the 2nd came out. I think it was long enough. François Letarte for my role-playing channel. And up to next time, I hope you have as much fun in your life as in your games. Goodbye.